Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tip. My name is Julian, and in today's episode, we're obviously continuing our series of episodes about each individual NHL team, talking about their noteworthy players, and talking about whether I think you should draft them or not. Obviously, today's episode is about the New York Islanders. Today is the first Sunday of the NFL season, and if you didn't know this about me, I am a huge Green Bay Packers fan. I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, and I'm hoping the Packers can still be a decent team this year without Davante Adams, but that remains to be seen. Hopefully, you're not watching this and laughing at me because the Packers got destroyed. I really hope that doesn't happen because I don't like the Vikings. Before we get started, though, guys, please leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. And if you do want to take your support to the next level, the link to my Patreon is down below in the description. Let's jump right into it now, and let's start with the New York Islanders lines that I'm projecting for this year. On the top line, Anders Lee, Matt Barzal, and Oliver Wahlstrom. On the second line, Josh Bailey, Brock Nelson, and Anthony Beauvillier. On the third line, Zach Parise, Jean-Gabriel Pageau, and Kyle Palmieri. Now let's jump into the noteworthy players, and first on the list is Ilya Sorokin, currently going an ADP of 29.3. If you're in a categories league, I think that's a fantastic ADP, and you should jump on that. I think Sorokin is going to do very, very well this year in terms of save percentage, wins, and goals against average. I don't think he's still going to start the vast majority of the starts in New York because Varlamov is still there. I think he's still going to get somewhere between 35 to 40, maybe even 45% of the starts in New York. But if you're in a Cats league, it doesn't matter as much as long as you're getting that really solid save percentage when Sorokin does play. That's what matters. In a points-based league, I have him knocked down a few spots just because of that, right? He's not going to get as many starts as some of the other goalies that are above him. And that's why I have him knocked down a little bit lower than some people might. Then I have Noah Dobson, who had an amazing breakout season last year, scored 51 points in 80 games, and is unequivocally their number one defenseman in New York. Had a nice block shots numbers, had nice shots on goal numbers, so the peripherals are there as well as the points. He's someone that I absolutely love for fantasy this year, and I have him ranked as my 18th best defenseman this year in fantasy. Definitely someone I like. And at this ADP, it's not too bad either. Then I have Semyon Varlamov, who's currently going at an ADP of 157.2. And he's the third best ranked player on the Islanders. And Varlamov, I see getting probably 40% of the starts this year, unless Sorokin just plays out of his mind and the Islanders finally let him, play in more games. If they do and he keeps playing well, then Varlamov could see a lot less starts, and then this pick could be a lot worse for you. But at the beginning of the season, I see him playing a decent share of the starts, which is why he could be a pretty good value pick at this range. He's very, very risky pick because he could either be very, very good value or very poor value if Sorokin just goes to that next level and then the Islanders stop really playing Varlamov like they kind of did a bit towards the end of the season last year. So personally, I'm not going to be picking Semyon Varlamov, but he definitely could be a value pick if you're someone who likes to take some risks. Then I have Matt Barzal, who's honestly disappointed me over the last couple years. He's not quite lived up to what I know he can be. Only scored 59 points last year in 73 games. We all know he can do better than that, but over the last couple seasons, he's not been on the best trend, which is why I'm not going to be drafting this year, especially since he's a natural center and only finished as the 184th best fantasy player in terms of fantasy points per game, and he's being currently drafted at ADP higher than that. To me, it's just not worth it. If you're a risk taker and you want to take a risk and see if he can get back to that way he was a few years back, scoring 80 points plus, you can take that chance, but personally, I'm not going to do so. Then I have Anders Lee, who sucked for the vast majority of the season last year, kind of turned it on a little bit towards the end, ended up scoring 46 points in 76 games with a very high shooting percentage, and only finished the 178th best fantasy player in terms of fantasy points per game, and is being drafted higher than this. He's not someone I'm looking at this year, guys. It's not worth drafting Anders Lee in fantasy this year. He's crazy inconsistent, and he's not someone that I want on my team this year. Then I have Brock Nelson, who actually finishes the 99th best fantasy player in terms of fantasy points per game last year, scoring 59 points in 72 games, which is actually pretty decent. But look at that shooting percentage, guys. That's incredibly high. That's going to regress a decent amount, and that's going to make him significantly less valuable this year. And he'll probably finish around this ADP, but he's a natural center, so probably not worth drafting around here. Then I have Alexander Romanov, who was traded from the Montreal Canadiens, only scored 13 points in 79 games. But if you are drafting Romanov, you're not drafting him for offensive production. You're drafting him for those hits and those blocks numbers. Romanov had the 35th most hits per game last year and was 19th in the league in blocked shots. So that's pretty freaking good. So if you do just need those for your categories leagues, you can draft them super, super late in your draft, and it's not the worst pick in the world, but honestly, there's probably some better options that can also score you some points. That's just why Romanov is not someone I'm personally looking at in any kind of league format. Then I have Ryan Pulock, and after he came back from injury, he scored 21 points in 56 games, which is not too bad. He also managed to put up some semi-decent peripherals, which keep him afloat. And that's why in my top 50 defenseman video, I did rank Pulock in my top 50 defensemen. So super, super late in your draft. I don't think he's a terrible pick. If you do want to check out that video, you can check that out right up there. Then I have Oliver Wahlstrom. And he is someone who I think is super, super talented. And I think that Barry Trotz kind of hated him and didn't deploy him properly. I think that with Lane Lambert as the coach, he may finally be given better opportunities and to really showcase how good he can be. I think he's going to be a very good player in the NHL. He just needs to be given the right opportunity. So you don't necessarily have to draft Oliver Wahlstrom, but in the first week or two, if he's looking really electric, he's someone that I'm going to be going after very, very hard. And last but not least, I have Jean-Gabriel Pageau, finished the 189th best fantasy player in terms of fantasy points per game last year, which isn't too bad, scored 39 points, but where he has the most value is the hits category and the face-off wins category. So if you're in a Cats league that has face-off wins and hits, Pageau is probably not a bad player for you to add to your team. Obviously, he is a natural center, so if you only have a couple of center spots, you probably don't want to use it on Pageau. But if you're in a league with lots of center spots or lots of forward spots, Pageau is someone that I definitely would want on my team for a Cats league with face-off wins and with hits. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. Please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and if you do want to take your support to the next level, the link to my Patreon is down below. Go Packers, go! And I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.